All right, and I'm going to welcome everybody to the February 23rd, 2021 Best Practice webinar. Today we are going to be talking through our presentation, which is called Supporting Program Staff and then Planning for After School Professionals Week. So instead of going into full presentation mode, I think I'd like to have my screen like this if possible, just so that I can better navigate some of the other tabs. I'll be dropping a few things into the chat box and things of that nature. So is everybody able to see this okay? Okay, I'm seeing some head shakes. So I also expect that this presentation is going to be fairly interactive. I'll be looking for you to participate. We're going to try a new platform today. And then I also would just always encourage you to unmute and share your thoughts or experiences with us. So we'll go ahead and get started here. So we're actually going to start with a Jamboard. And I don't know if any of you have ever used a Jamboard before. But first and foremost, let me get this dropped into the chat so you can grab the link. So if you just want to click on that link, and then I'll give you a quick tutorial on how this platform works. I was able to participate. Yeah.
Sorry. It's not, yeah, it's restricted for access. It says you have to authorize us.
Well, fun. All right, give me a second here, folks. All right, I got to stop share for just a moment. All right, can we try it now? Somebody grab that link. Does it work okay for you now? Danny's shaking her head no. Well, fun. Guess what, folks? We're going to punt and we're going to use the chat box for this then. So I'd like us to immediately start thinking about how we work or feel about our current staff. And the lovely thing about doing a Jamboard is that you can make this anonymous. So now, if you do not want to share because you have that lack of anonymity, that is perfectly fine. But if you could drop a few words into the chat box to answer this question. So when you think about your current staff, you feel what? What are some words that describe your current staff? All right, my staff are the best. They're confident, they're dedicated, blessed, comfortable, passionate, new to after school, high turnover. Okay, reliable, enthusiastic, fun. Man, you guys are on a roll of positivity this morning, so thank you for that. All right, I'm going to switch gears and I'm going to ask, and for some of you, this actually might be the same answer, but now I'd like you to drop into the chat what you feel your staff's greatest strengths are. So again, a word, 2 words, a sentence, what are their greatest strengths? Okay, so I'm seeing great relationships, creative, connecting with students. Again, relationships, flexibility, planning, reliability. Relationships and connections, independence, positive, good to the students, ambitious, willing to participate, taking the lead where needed. You guys are, again, you're on a roll today. This is great. Okay, so now I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate, and now I'm going to ask you, what about your challenges with staff? What are some of the challenges that you're facing? Oh, change is hard. Yes. Jennifer, thank you for that. Hiring enough staff. Staff member who calls in frequently, not having enough staff, COVID-related absences. People are tired. Lack of motivation, taking charge sometimes. Classroom management has high expectations. Worried about what other staff are doing. Consistency with enforcing some policy. Okay, that's good. A lack of experience with behaviors, also very understandable. Any other thoughts on that particular question? Okay, and again, at this point, some of this might be, again, you might be using a word that you used previously again, but now I want you to think about, what does your ideal staff person look like? So what are a few of those characteristics that if you had a machine where you could just make the perfect youth development worker, what would that person look like? What would they be like? What would they do? How would they act? Okay. So I'm seeing students love them, classroom management skills, reliable, flexible, caring, willing to try new things, jump in without hesitation, friendly, reliable, flexible, hardworking. Oh, Sam's got the 3 F's, fair, firm, and flexible. Fun, hands-on, working well with students, thoughtful, consistent, team player, flexible, good facilitator, self-starter, friendly, positive reinforcement. You guys are doing so well with this. Patient. Oh, such a good thing to be is patient. So, all right. I'm going to go back to sharing. Please go ahead and continue your thoughts, but please, I'm going to go back to sharing here. So in a previous presentation that I did, we asked a very similar question. So what does your program staff mean to you? And we created this word wall. So in this word wall, we have things like support, need, communication, love. They're our family. Sometimes you have struggles. Sometimes you consider them to be your friends. And actually what we're really, thinking about here is the fact that I've always said a lot of times you spend more time with these people than you do your own families. So you have this sense of community that you're trying to develop and, support and so on and so forth. But sometimes that, just like our real families, that comes with both positives and negatives. So some of the words on here, again, very clearly positive: need, good, friends, family. Some are kind of negative, so struggle, late, and then sometimes we have those words that could kind of go both ways. For example, retire. I don't know if that means they want their staff to retire or if that's something they're just generally looking forward to, right? But the one that strikes me the most is that the word in there that says human, because really this is what's going to drive home this point for us. So we are humans in a job that just absolutely requires us to be absolutely 100% human. So we deal with a lot of emotions, we deal with a lot of headaches, we deal with a lot of heartaches, we have successes, but we also have challenges. We have some of those things that you go home at the end of the day and all you can do is just shake your head, and then the other days you go home and you're completely and totally pumped. So we want to talk through some characteristics today of how we can continue to build that sense of community, that sense of family, because again, like our real families, we know that there are many, many positives, but there are also some negatives too, and we want to be able to talk through that as this very human experience. Okay. So why is high quality staff important to us? Well, quite honestly, because of the youth, right? That's why we do this job. I don't believe there's any of us who are on this webinar today who do this work because it's your lifelong goal to get rich. It just doesn't happen. But we do it for the kids. And one of the things that the Search Institute, and for anybody who doesn't know this about me, I am a huge Search Institute fan. So the Search Institute is very reliable at sharing strong data collection and information. And I wanted to share this particular screen with you. Can everybody see the Search Institute screen that I'm sharing? Just wanted to be sure that I hit the right button. So when we look at relationships in youth programs, what we're really talking about here is that program leaders emphasize that challenge growth. So Search actually came up with this data. This was from a 2016 survey for youth in grades 6 through 12, so maybe a little bit higher than the age of youth that we might be typically serving, or most of you are typically serving. But when they asked youth to respond to these questions as to how the relationships at their site were affecting them, they felt that 54% of their youth program workers expressed care for them. 67% challenged them to grow. And again, when we think about growth, we're thinking about things not just academic growth.
Little bit that came across.
Hold on here, we're going to
that, and then I open it up.
Somebody talking in the background here. So if you are not muted, please grab that mute button and do that for yourself, please. Challenge growth not only means academic growth, but it also means that holistic approach to them as a youth, as a person. So everything from the academic component to the social emotional learning, to the physical fitness, to the drug and alcohol prevention, all of those other qualities that you folks do in your daily programs. They felt that 50% of the youth workers provided support for them. 52% shared power, which of course is a really great way to empower kids to be able to have a responsibility built into their program, and that 40% expanded possibilities. So again, Search Institute has many, many more resources and information, and they're a wonderful resource for people. So in addition to the good work that they do, the Iowa After School Alliance also agrees that we have fantastic things as well. So when we think about quality, we can look at our quality standards. And my hope is that everybody here is familiar. Oh, so somebody's got to be human and log off for a moment, sorry. I'm hoping that these are not completely foreign to people here today, because we did a webinar on our quality standards last fall. But within these standards, we also talk about why quality staff and staff engagement and staff connection and relationship is important for your program. And again, it all leads to those youth outcomes. So this is just that example of the quality standards that are here. And this is something that you can certainly find on our website. Does anybody have any questions about anything that we've shared from Search or the quality standards at this moment? Okay, back to the PowerPoint. So the right member of your team can do several things for your organization, district, site, wherever you're at. So the right person can meet your organization's values. If everybody could just hop on very quickly and drop, again, another couple of words or phrases, or if you have a mission statement for your site or organization available, put that into the chat for me, or unmute and come off and tell me, what are some of your organization's values? Okay, I don't know why I am unable to pull up the chat at the moment. Emily, are you able to see the chat?
Yes, I can read some for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have Students First strives to have a profoundly positive impact on each student's quality of life, creating a safe space for kids, ignite learning, build leadership, and encourage learning, and a safe, positive place.
Fantastic.
We got a couple more. Sorry, I cut them off.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Building relationships with students and families, and creating a fun and safe place for kids to come to learn, play, and build positivity.
Okay, great. Got any others you want to share?
We just had another one come in. Creating a safe, positive culture for after-school experience.
Perfect. Okay, so in addition to meeting your organization's values, the right member for your team can also demonstrate those character, leadership, growth mindset, and problem-solving skills for your youth. Does anybody want to unmute and share an example of how you have maybe seen a current staff or a past staff demonstrate one of these qualities as a role model? Anybody willing to come off mute and share that? Quiet group today. All right, so in thinking about observations that I've done, I know sometimes it's even just the simple things. Cleaning up after a project, making sure that things get put into the trash can or the recycling bin, demonstrating those things. When it comes to growth mindset in particular, I always think of this one example when I was visiting a site, and this youth was really struggling with some homework. I don't know what topic the homework was, but boy, this little boy just was not getting it. And he ended up getting super frustrated, threw his pencil across the room, kind of shoved his books, you know, whatever. And in my mind, my thought was is the staff really had, you know, one of two main reactions at that point. That staff person could have been like, go pick that up, knock it off, you know, you're acting a fool, those types of things. Or she could have handled it the way she did. And that was to say, you don't have it yet. Let's get back to this. Let's practice because you'll get this. We just have to teach your brain how to get it. And again, perfect example of that growth mindset. You guys have experiences like that all the time, I know. That perfect team member for you can build on your team's conceptual and strategic thinking. So again, especially if you are a community-based organization, you are probably working towards additional networking goals or things of that nature. And if you're a school district as well, but you also are probably thinking about you know, some of those parts that come with strategic plans. So whether it be outreach, networking, funders, ways to make connections with people who are connected to your program, building those community partnerships, securing different forms of professional development. High quality staff can help you to make those connections. They also create a sense of sociability and reliance among team members. And then they help your program to be adaptable when making those learning connections. So, and I do want to give some credit where credit is due. This slide was actually taken from a spring 2020 presentation that Dow Jock, who was with the out of school time program, he's now with the Des Moines Public School System, I think. This was part of the information that he shared and developed. Okay, so teamwork. Teamwork's fun, and this is why it pays off for us.
Hey, what a game last night, huh? That was fun. All right, so just for fun,
get back to the PowerPoint here. All right, so when we're considering our staffing and volunteer thoughts, the Iowa After School Alliance recently put together a toolkit for you to be able to use that addresses some staffing issues. So this After School in a Box toolkit was really designed to be a couple of different things. It is perfectly designed to be a startup from the ground up type of thing. So if Joe Smith and Jane Brown are in a community and they want to start an after-school program, they should be able to download this kit and get some really basic information on how to do that. On the flip side of it, though, it's also designed for current programs to be able to access certain components or pieces of that to give yourself kind of a brush up on those lessons. We're going to spend the next few minutes reviewing some of the information in this kit, and I did include the link. Let's go ahead and get that into the chat for you if I can. I just don't know why I can't pull up the chat today. Emily, do you mind dropping that link in there for me?
Yeah, I can get it. Give me just 1 second.
Thank you. All right, so when we access the toolkit, and again, let me grab the screen here for you. All right, there we go. So this is on our iowaafterschoolalliance.org website, and then you can find it under the OST in Iowa, and then After School in a Box. So when you get to this page, just a couple of things that I'll point out to everyone for easier navigation is, first and foremost, you can download the full document as a PDF by clicking this download button here. Fair warning, it is over 200 pages. I think it's 220 something pages. So that is perfectly allowable, and you can do that at your discretion. But then also there's individual sections here. So if you want more information about establishing your program, which includes some information about documentation and provide some templates and things of that, you can click on that section. If you want to brush up on some budget information, that's fine. Where we're going to be spending some time at today is the staffing and volunteer considerations. So I'm going to hit this download button, and it's going to take me to the following 10 pages. Can everybody see this section well enough on your screen? All right, I got a thumbs up. All right. So again, the way this, I'll just do a quick tutorial of how this works, and then I want to talk a little bit more intensely about some of the content here. So the way this kit is designed is to give some basic information at the beginning. They'll be included in this section, in this gray box, so you can find certain templates or things of that nature. And then when you scroll down, you can continue to find those materials. Now, another couple of quick little things is at the bottom of each page, you can click this kind of gray arrow button, which says back to section resources, and that will take you up to the top of the document. And then if it's a template, of which, give me 1 second here, and I will slide down. If it's a template, you will also see the ability to download that. And actually, we don't have a template in this section, but it would be in a similar situation, but it would be right up here that you could just click that button and download the template for your use. So what we're going to focus on with this particular page is I want to look at page 2, which is retention. So retaining staff. So you hire them, and now you have to keep them. So what does that mean? And why is this key to your program success? Well, several of you have already indicated in the chat and through some discussion that we've had to start with that turnover may be an issue for you, or actually just getting people hired might be an issue for you. What we want to think about a little bit today, and this is where, again, I'm going to open it up for some conversation here in just a second, is how to build that sense of community, how to build that sense of support so that you have better outcomes for youth. And I think we would all probably agree that we are working in an industry in which oftentimes pay becomes a little bit of an issue. Again, we don't do this work to get rich, and our staff are often not compensated at the level that we wish that they were compensated. So I want us to think about this next part of our discussion in thinking about, if you can't pay them whatever amount makes perfect sense for you, then how do we build that sense of community to increase their desire to stay? So here's some bullets on this page that talks through a few of these ideas. So one of the most common reasons that employees leave a job is because they feel like there's that breakdown of that sense of team. So when we think about a high quality team, we need to think about building that sense of camaraderie. So a few examples here include scheduled meet and greets, lunches and coffees, and other informal gatherings. And I would also say too, of course, this is kind of pre-COVID. You need to use your best judgment and address this during a pandemic. However that works is however that works for you. And in fact, if you have ideas, we'll take those in just a moment. The long and short of it is if employees feel like they're being cared for, they're going to stay and they're going to do good work for you. Now, if obviously we have people who are, using this work to be kind of the next developmental step in their career. And I know when I was in a managerial position, I always, sometimes people were like, oh, don't you get frustrated because you put so much time and energy into this person and now they're leaving you. I always tried to approach it from the fact of, yeah, but you know what? Someday they might come back, and think of all the great things that they'll be able to accomplish then. So some of it's a little bit of mindset thing then too. The second bullet talks about well-run program support. So these are things that make employees feel like they're being taken care of. Are they safe? Are they valued? This is where policies and procedures oftentimes come into play. And I think, Sam, maybe you had a comment in the chat box about fairness when it comes to that policy implementation. And I'm sorry, I can't remember your exact words and I'm not able to access the chat at the moment. But if you wanted to unmute and correct me, that's perfectly fine. But again, when you have a set of rules or guidelines and employees know that the best of intentions are in place for those, it can make them feel safe, supported, and valued. The third bullet is a high quality onboarding system. I have worked in several positions or roles in which the onboarding process was, hey, here's your desk, there's the copier, and there's the coffee machine, good luck. And I've also worked in other situations in which the onboarding process was literally like a 3-day in-person training with a volunteer staff mentor, and I spent time with every single person on staff and so on and so forth. You guys are going to have to determine what's the best approach for you. But the long and short of it here is when you start that employee off on the right foot, you're more likely to have a better experience or a better outcome with them. I would also encourage you to think about that in some levels for your volunteers, and also if you're using interns or work studies or job shadowing students and so on and so forth. And I also would encourage you to think about implementing these similar techniques, not only for the adult staff in your life, but if you're working with high school age youth, this gives them a really nice taste of what it's like to be able to join a high quality workforce situation. So you give them that experience so that they're able to better respond when they do get into that world of work. Out of school time programs, again, we often run on those lean budgets, or budgets are at the discretion of some higher power and they might not be consistent or as consistent as you'd like them to be year after year. So again, if you can't compensate your staff the way you want to through a paycheck, we need to think about other ways, more creative ways to make them feel valued. So again, a few examples: shout outs at staff team meetings, potlucks for birthdays, other incentives that fit within the dynamics of your team. I knew one site that kind of did like a spa day for some of the staff. That was really kind of a fun, important thing to them. I know another group who once a year took their staff to see a local baseball game, you know? So again, there's a little bit of cost where those things are involved, but if you can offset that with some additional funds or find a way to make that creatively work, it could be worth it. And then build in those opportunities for your staff to develop their skills and interests in education, because we want them to be able to do well so that they're better able to respond to meet the needs of youth in your program. Okay, so Emily, can you check the chat for me and let me know if there's any comments, questions, anything that we need to address before we move on?
Vic said in the chat that he really supports recognition and taking the time to tell your staff about what great job they're doing and honor their efforts in writing, either with a certificate or appreciation. And then you can also nominate staff for annual impact awards and kids as well. I would like to take this time to shamelessly self-promote the A+ After School Award. It just went out today for the month of February, but always be filling that out. We take it for students, staff, whoever, as well as the whole program. And that's like one of my favorite parts of my job is putting together those awards.
Absolutely. So now I'd like to invite you to come off mute. Again, if you have to use the chat, that's fine. But tell me, how do you currently support your staff? And again, we threw a few examples up here just based on some previous conversations that I've had with folks. So again, those recognitions, celebrating birthdays, staff coffees, fun virtual events. Since COVID, I've heard a couple of people that have done like happy hours, with or without adult beverages. And then I've also heard of a few places that have done like online games or trivia nights. Those are kind of fun. What have you guys done, or what are you doing to currently support your staff?
Sylvia says that they do handwritten thank you cards and celebrate birthdays. Bucket fillers for staff and students. Staff shout out board, pizza days. They meet 1 to 2 times a month for full-time staff. They eat lunch together, play some kind of team building activity, or plan some kind of team building activities for the fall, like Top Golf, which sounds really fun. And they do birthday goodies and notes. Virginia says she takes time to thank her staff daily. Nikki says they go to see their elementary chorus club sing at a baseball game.
Nice.
I'll come off mute, and that way, you know, we'll have some variety in our call. So we do kind of those things too, the shout outs and handwritten cards. And then I just did some little cards thanking my staff for being so flexible this year. And then I got these little, I've got the screen on. Okay, well, it's hard to see. Okay, there. So it's a like a little hygiene kit. So there's a mask in there, lip balm, hand sanitizer, with our new logo on it for the district, and just as like thanks. So I normally do like maybe a lanyard for everybody each year, but this year I did this little special thing for them.
Great, thanks, Kathy. Anybody else want to come on? I know one thing that we used to do at the place where I previously worked is we would kind of celebrate those kind of weird days, like, hey, everybody, it's National Lasagna Day, you know, and I would bring in a giant pan of lasagna and people would eat that way, or, you know, I think another one was like Jelly Bean Day or something. So a lot of food-centered things, of course, but we also did National Walk at Lunch Day or something. So we picked a time and we did that. And then we did kind of a salad bar type of potluck to make it a little bit healthier. So it's not just all lasagna and jelly beans. That was a lot of fun. Has anybody else done anything of that nature?
I know
I
that
really
we do that, kind of.
Yeah.
Julie
Does anybody-
says, oh, sorry, go ahead, Crystal.
No, please, Emily, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. Julie says that they do National Donut Day. Cassie says homemade cookies and brownies, which I would appreciate.
Yes.
Oh, they said, Danny says they celebrated Valentine's Day by getting each staff member candy.
Very nice. So again, I'm going to ask for a little bit of honesty here, and you can maybe use one of the screen emojis or something like that. Do any of you feel like it's like you have to intentionally build this in? Staff support has to be something that's intentionally built into your day because you recognize the importance of it, but it sometimes comes up against just one more thing to do. And again, maybe use an emoji or drop something into the chat. We'll kind of talk through that. Yeah, I'm seeing a few things. Emily, is there anything in the chat for comments to that question?
No, not currently.
Okay. You know, the kind of rough part about this is that we constantly have to be cheerleaders for our staff. We're the positivity builders. We're the people that are moving and shaking and making these things happen. And sometimes it almost feels like then we forget about ourselves. So the next little thing that I would just kind of say is I personally felt like when I was doing things for my staff, that also became a little bit of self-care time for me. So I would encourage you to try to think about how you can build self-care into staff recognition and staff support, because again, it can be vitally important for this time. The next slide I want to talk about is why we need to do support for our staff. So how will supporting your staff lead to better outcomes for your kids? Again, unmute or drop in the chat there. What's going to happen? If your staff feel better supported, how is that leading to better outcomes for the kids? A little bit of feedback.
They'll feel more appreciated and performance will be more better. Also, they'll feel wanting to come to work.
Yeah. Okay, anybody else?
There's some stuff here in the chat. I think to your question, like as soon as I said nothing in the chat, we got some stuff. So I wanted to bring that back. Sam brings up a good point of working in like staff appreciation, that it has to be intentional, but it also needs to be genuine, and trying to find a good balance between that. And then it's been tougher to coordinate and support, but Nikki supports her staff as much as possible. And then for this current question, again, we feel appreciated and do a better job. It shows students how we should treat others. Everyone likes to be appreciated and they'll be excited to come to work, and we should make work a place that people want to be.
Absolutely. Yeah, good points. And I do want to go back to Sam's comment about being genuine. That's absolutely true, because you don't want that situation where somebody's like, woo, I'm employee of the month, because it means nothing, right? So building in the intentionality behind it, but also keeping it coming from that good place internally. That's a great suggestion there. Some of the other questions that I have on here, and again, feel free to just, reflect on these, drop in the chat or unmute too. Thinking about how supporting staff will lead to better parent-site communication, how it's going to lead to a better sense of team. And then I'm going to hold that last question because I do want some input there from everybody. But how will supporting your staff lead to those better parent interactions and or a sense of team? Can anybody give me an example? And again, unmute or drop into the chat, please.
Can you repeat the question, Crystal?
Yeah, my question is how will supporting your staff lead to better parent-site communication and or lead to a better sense of team?
Nikki says that knowing parents and openly communicating with them constantly will make for better rapport and relationships for the site.
Sure. And again, if parents trust you, they trust your staff and they trust your site, they're more likely to be supportive of the work that you're doing with those kids, right? So for those of you who maybe experienced some attendance issues, and again, we know that COVID has had some effect on attendance, so I'm not necessarily thinking about pandemic specific, but one of the number one reasons that attendance is high at a site is because you have that level of parent trust and high levels of parent communication. That partnered with high interest activities for the kids and that sense of belonging, I mean, that's like the youth development jackpot right there. So how about a sense of team? If you support your staff, what's that going to lead to as it pertains to that sense of teamwork?
Danny actually just dropped in the chat that when communication is better with each other, then your staff feels like they're part of a team and are able to communicate with the parents and establish a better relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate to that one as well. And Cassie, I would invite you to unmute and make any corrections to the following comment that I'm going to make. But one of our highlights for the March 30th spring workshop that I sent the invitation out for yesterday will focus on a framework that will help you to develop positive communications and exchanges, and that's called ORID. So Cassie, I know that was like super brief, but did I misconstrue anything within that statement? She gave me the thumbs up. Okay.
I think you did good. I think, and that's part of kind of all of this too, is talking to your staff and finding out what their strengths are and highlighting that not only in your own team, but in your networks. And so, you know, in talking to your staff, you learn, you know, one knows American Sign Language and works with some blind youth during the school day. So like that's a highlight, and she could lead a PD on, you know, on some signing and just finding what they are interested in too, and giving them that opportunity to lead training to their peers and to others. And so the person doing ORID works for me, not in after school, but in another part of my job. And so just kind of highlighting that makes them feel really seen and appreciated and heard.
Yeah. So again, I mean, we know that not all staff communication is positive. We know that not all daily interactions with the people that you're working with are sunshines and rainbow, right? You know, sometimes they can get a little tense, but you still need to have them, and they still need to feel valued as a person in the same way that you need to feel valued as a supervisor. So if you are able to join us for that March 30th discussion to learn more about that ORID framework, I think that might help with some of your staff interactions and discussions as well. Okay, so after thinking through some of this, and I know I'm putting you on the spot a little bit, I'm just curious, is there a new thing that somebody would like to try, or an idea that you took from any of the resources or materials that you think you would be successful at implementing with your staff in terms of how you support them? And again, feel free to unmute or drop that into the chat.
Hey, this is Chris from Boys and Girls Club. I recently had a discussion with leadership about potentially revamping the way that we compensate staff based on performance. And that's really a key thing that we haven't mentioned yet today, but staff are more motivated when they have incentives like that. So hopefully we can think of some solutions on that.
Yeah, that's great. And yes, you know, again, I kind of casually mentioned that sometimes pay is an issue for this type of work, right? So if you're unable to compensate them, what are some of those other things that you can do? Because again, budgets can be a little bit tight sometimes. So but yeah, that's great. Good for you. Anybody else? What's something that you think you'd maybe like to try when you're thinking about how you're interacting to support your staff? I think everybody might be dazzled by the warm temperatures and sunshine today, but that's okay. All right, so think about those things. If you have follow-up questions, you guys absolutely know how to reach us. The last thing that we want to address with you today is an opportunity that might be something that you want to consider taking advantage of. So After School Professionals Appreciation Week is April 19th through the 23rd of this year. And there is a website that you can go to. We'll go ahead and I'm just going to pull this up really quickly so you can see what the website looks like. But this has a toolkit, ideas, inspiration, and just a little bit of information about After School Professionals Appreciation Week. So you can certainly hop here. They have a great little video from the previous year. They have some information about that you can, from the toolkit that you can drop down, including some social media posts, some talking points, flyers. They even have some merchandise if that's something that you're interested in. But we really, what we wanted to just finish this kind of conversation with today, I'm going to bring it back to the presentation here real quick, is we'll be doing, the Iowa After School Alliance will be doing social media that week as well. And we would love for you to share your ideas with us so that we can promote this Appreciation Week and the good work that you are all doing in the same way that we have attempted to do some of our other social media drives, or that's not the right word. So Emily, do you want to unmute yourself and talk a little bit about what you are kind of envisioning for social media that week, and then perhaps what other people could do to support that work?
Yeah, so I already touched a little bit on A+ After School, which is our monthly award. That goes out in the newsletter, but it also gets a nice little blurb on social media, tagging the site. And if the site then wants to tag a specific staff that's in it, that's also totally fine by us. That is done very well. A lot of people really enjoy that. Who doesn't like to receive an award on a public platform? So we're trying to do a little bit more of that here at the After School Alliance, at least monthly. But during this week, this Appreciation Week, I would love to do more of that, more than just like the once a month award. So you could really, I could set up a form and you guys can really submit a staff member for whatever kind of award that you want to put together. We can design it, put it up on social media. It also works as great promotionals for your site or your center, because then you can reshare that and say, hey, look, our staff is recognized by the state level, network. So we've got some good people here. So it's kind of a win-win-win on all sides. Beyond just the A+ After School, any promotional events like that, or this Professionals Appreciation Week, I do really recommend that you guys do post about your staff on social media. Again, those individual posts from your sites do well. And I do track as many after school programs across the state as I can. And as soon as I see those posts, I usually share them to our page as well from the Iowa After School Alliance, and give your staff a shout out that way as well. People really enjoy that. The students really like it. We had some student awards that came out last fall for Impact, and they did so well that one student actually had an article written about her in her hometown newspaper. So that was pretty cool. But we do a lot of social media here at the Iowa After School Alliance. Anything that you may be interested in doing for your program by yourself, I am more than willing to help you formulate or get you a template for that, or give you like a planned schedule. So just feel free to reach out. Anything that you guys want to do, I'm open to doing. I'm going to drop the A+ After School link here in the chat so you can submit there. They're accepted on a rolling basis, and we just kind of pick one from the pool that we have left at the beginning of, or the end of every month, because I guess the newsletter just went out today. So let me know. Oh, here, I'll also put my email in there too.
Yeah.
So if
And
you
I
want-
did bring up the last slide that has
Oh.
all of our emails on it. You can go ahead and grab those. And again, just remember, we're here for you to, if you want to bounce ideas off of, if you need us to point you in a direction for recruitment, maybe you're struggling with staff recruitment, we have a few ideas of places that you could potentially look for some staff members. And then we're also happy to help you with any of your internal professional development as it looks to, again, support the learning of the staff that you have working within your system. So does anybody have any questions about anything that we reviewed today? Yes, Nikki, I will be sharing the PowerPoint. I'll be putting that up onto the website. And then I also have developed, let me grab this document. Oh, I tell you, I am just struggling today with Zoom. It's just not letting me do anything today. I have a worksheet that we put together that kind of helps you to think about what type of person your organization needs. Let me do a quick screen share, and then I'll make this available to you as well. Let me grab this document. So this just kind of helps you to put on paper what it is exactly you're looking for with a staff. So what are your organization's values? When people think of your organization, what do they think of, you know? And again, use the word organization liberally here. It could mean, of course, your community-based organization. It could mean your school district. It could mean your out-of-school time program, whatever. Here's a place where you can think about when you think of a quality staff person, you see them demonstrating those characteristics in the following ways. You can use this as a template to do some typing into. How important are these qualities for you at your site? And then other things that are important to building a successful team. And then again, a brainstorming section for you to be able to think about that staff retention. And again, we'll include this as well as the PowerPoint slides. And I'll also be sure to get the links sent out to everyone so you can grab those links if you didn't grab them from the chat box today. So any questions, thoughts, concerns? Okay, so with that being said, I'm going to stop our recording.